People talk a lot about how they've maybe self-excluded or, been managing really well for several months or weeks, months, or maybe even a couple of years. And then they feel really disappointed in themselves because something has happened or they've suddenly relapsed and the urges have just been too strong and they've gone back gambling. And then, of course, the negativity feeds in the shame, the guilt, the self loathing, the self hatred, the feeling of, well, it's just me, there's something broken in me, the beating yourself up sets in, which is really, it's understandable. It's that very, very intense sense of feeling of failure, feeling that you've let yourself down, you've let your family and your friends down, and that sort of going back to square one, to sort of the reset, because it's almost like, the previous whatever time you haven't gambled for is almost irrelevant. It's just wiped out. And that's an understandable feeling. It's human nature to feel like that. But not gambling during that period of time, you kind of need to give yourself credit for that. There are other things that you need to start putting in place, however, because the self-exclusion, the self-banning and the avoidance strategies, they don't really work long term unless you're going to back them up. You've got to back them up with strategies and support systems for yourself, and it takes work. It's, you got to invest this time in yourself and accept that, look, this is part of my life. I need to invest some time in myself and work through this, because also people can feel, well, everybody else is kind of normal, why do I have to do this, and I just want to fix it now and I should be okay. But if you're struggling with gambling, if you've got an addiction, then you have to do something about it. And if the self-exclusion and the self, the banning and stuff is working to a degree, but you've constantly got those urges there, you've constantly got those cravings that you feel you're really just keeping them at bay, and it's like, the monster is trying to push itself out of, but you're trying to keep the lid on it. But it's, I mean, that can fade. The urges and the cravings can fade, but also if they're not really dealt with, if you don't really get to the root cause of what's going on here, and a lot of it is a lack of emotional regulation, the ability to deal with crap that life throws at you, the ability to deal with, the stresses and the strains and the difficulties that happen in life without turning to gambling. Because gambling initially, before you became addicted, before you got sort of, ensnared in all of that, was, it gave you pleasure. It was something kind of a quick fix. And even if you didn't win, it was the whole experience of it. It was even thinking about it. It was the anticipation of it. This all raises your levels of dopamine in the brain. That pleasure feeling, that high, that sense of excitement, and the kind of the escapism as well. It is a form of escapism, because really when you are when you are gambling and you're in the throes of it, everything else is you have to admit this, everything else is blocked out. Whatever problems and issues are going on in your life, they don't exist for you. And it might even be a very, very short period of time, momentary period of time, but they will be blocked out. They won't be there. And it's that bubble. You're putting yourself in a bubble. And again, it's human nature. Hey, look, this is no one's judging. This is a very, very common but a very, very destructive addiction. And you've got to kind of break the back of it. Now you have to decide, I'm going to quit gambling. You have to decide that up here. That's got to be there. I'm going to stop this. So you have to decide, I'm done. I'm done with gambling. And you also have to back up any self-exclusion, any self-banning with other sort of projects, you've got to find ways to regulate your emotions, to deal with the stresses and strains in life. You obviously cannot just turn to gambling, because I remember somebody saying to me that they were doing okay, and then had a really rough patch, and all they could think about was gambling. Why? Because dopamine creates that memory. Dopamine creates a memory of that pleasure, of that thrill, that excitement, and that stays there. That stays in the brain, and you can draw on that at any time. And that is a tricky part. There's no question about that. That's difficult. But like I say, this is a work. It's a self project. But if you tackle it strategically and know what you need to do, then it doesn't have to be, it can be a really, really profound and transformative experience, because imagine your life without gambling. Imagine your life without all the stresses and strains, the worries, the lies, the secrets, the worry, the stress of not having money in your bank account to pay bills, the lack of trust, the broken relationships, the threat of losing your house, the list. Gambling is a ferocious addiction that just decimates people's lives. And imagine your life without that. Imagine that. That would be amazing, that it's just not there anymore. So it's a matter of filling that, and I'm not going to call it a void, but it's a gap. There's a gap that you have to fill. You got to put in other ideas. You got to create another life for yourself. Create other activities, hobbies, interests. What floats your boat? Spend time on what your purpose could be. If you're struggling financially, find other ways. Maybe you need to change jobs. Maybe start a business. When you stop the panic, ideas will flow to you, and it doesn't happen overnight. This is not a quick fix, and you've got to accept that. But it doesn't have to be a lengthy project or a lengthy journey either. And it can be a very, very enjoyable journey, and one of immense growth and self-discovery, where you're freeing yourself. You're freeing yourself from these shackles of worry and stress and debt. So from this video, this clip, I want you to really think about what your life would look like without this scourge of gambling, without this addiction. Think of all the things you want to do, that you really want to do, and how you want to change your life, and focus on that. And ideas will come to you. Ideas will come to you that you don't necessarily dismiss. Don't dismiss them. Oh, how could I do that? Just relax and let these thoughts flow to you. But it's so key to start thinking and visualizing your life without this addiction, and thinking about what you want your life to look like, and bringing those things into your life, so that those are the hobbies, the activities that you can turn to when life gets tricky and gets tough. Those are the activities and the self-care resources that you turn to, that support you. Maybe it's a matter of, making more friends, finding new hobbies, activities, and things that can, ignite your passion and just completely steer you off this path and steer you away from gambling. So it just becomes something in the past, never ever to darken your door again. And I can help you do that. I hope this video has been helpful. Bye for now.